is. Let's bring in Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the United States. Sir, thanks for taking time with us. What are you expecting to hear the two world leaders say when they come out of the Oval Office, and what would you like them to hear if that is something different? What would you like to hear them say if that is different?
Indeed. Good afternoon, Sandra, John. Always good to be with you. Let me start off by saying a note of appreciation for President Trump, to his team, to Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, have worked so hard on forging these 21 points. And I'm speaking now as a citizen, as a father and a grandfather. We're deeply appreciative of any effort that can bring an end to this truly horrendous war. So we hope it will succeed. I think that there's going to be a general agreement between the Prime Minister and the President about the principles behind the 21 points. There are, however, some major obstacles. One is that the other party that's not in the room is Hamas. And according to these 21 points, Hamas basically has to surrender. It has to give up its weapons, has to give up governance of Gaza. It even has a provision for those members of Hamas who want to remain in Gaza. They have to actually take a loyalty oath. They have to swear that they will no longer pursue a life of terrorism, that they will accept basically Israel's right to exist and agree to peace. It's quite a challenge for Hamas. This is an organization that is a jihadist organization whose leadership, at least, would prefer death to that type of surrender. But we'll see. We'll see whether the president can bring pressure to bear on Hamas's allies, the Qataris and the Turks, to put pressure on Hamas to accept this in some form with maybe some face-saving mechanism there. On the Israeli side, there are also obstacles. The 21 points call for a role of the Palestinian Authority in some future governance of Gaza. The Prime Minister and his government have been adamantly opposed to such a role for the Palestinian Authority. It's a deeply corrupt and unpopular governing body in the West Bank and Judea and Samaria. And also, there's a request that Israel engage in a dialogue about a pathway to a Palestinian state. Pathway. They use that word very, very carefully. Not a Palestinian state itself, but a pathway. But even that will be very difficult for the Prime Minister himself, who has come out against a two-state solution very adamantly this week in New York, and virtually every member of his coalition.
So even if Prime Minister Netanyahu comes out with President Trump today and says, I agree to the 21-point peace plan, as you point out, you've got to get Hamas to do it. They have to agree to it as well. And as we were speaking with General Keane about, what incentive does Hamas have to lay down their weapons and give up? I mean, even if they get safe passage to places like Turkey or Qatar, or they're allowed to live in Gaza, the Mossad has vowed to hunt each and every person associated with October the 7th down. And now with the UK, France, and others supporting the idea of a Palestinian state, that gives a lot of fuel to Hamas to say, why should we lay down our arms? The world is behind us.
Or even beyond that, why should Hamas give up the last hostage? I mean, Hamas is evil, but they're not stupid. And they know that the minute they give up the last Israeli hostage, and this is, of course, a cardinal point in the 21 points, that every Israeli hostage has to be released within 48 hours after the implementation of this agreement. Why would Hamas give up its last bargaining card? They know that once they give up the hostages, then the Israeli army can go in there and do just what General Keane was talking about, hunt them down to the last man. So, again, there are some major sticking points here. But I think it's very important that Israel and the United States remain on the same page. Israel is facing some major challenges in the international community today: isolation, possibility of sanctions and boycotts, and President Trump stands as a bulwark against that. And he's put his name on this 21 points. I think the Prime Minister will do everything possible to ensure that he remains on the same page with the President and that they continue to work together to end this war.
And then, Mr. Ambassador, where does the West Bank factor into all of this?
Well, according to the latter part of the 21 points, at some future point, at some future stage, there will be discussions about this pathway to a Palestinian state. Now, the pathway is a word that the Saudis have used over and over again. And the Saudis, it's not a democracy, but they do have public opinion, and they need to appease that opinion, to assuage it, and say, yes, we're doing something for Palestinian statehood. But they know that if you create a Palestinian state in the West Bank today, tomorrow it could fall to Hamas, and that would threaten Jordan. It would threaten half the Gulf. So the Saudis are also very cautious. They need a discussion on the pathway. Now, a pathway could be a thing with gravel. If you live in the suburbs, you know what a pathway could be. It doesn't necessarily lead to a Palestinian state. But even that will be very difficult for this current Israeli government to discuss, because that government is so adamantly opposed to the two-state solution, as it's called. So there has to be some way that the prime minister can go back to his government and say, listen, we need President Trump. He is going out there fighting for us. He's defending us. He has asked us to make this concession. We have to make it. And maybe, I'm going to go out on a limb here, John and Sandra, and say there may be some sweetener in there. Maybe the Saudis will say, well, if this agreement, the 21 points are implemented, if Israel accepts this, we'll enter into a peace process right now.
Right. And one of the points that I thought was kind of interesting was that Netanyahu has to promise not to attack anybody in Qatar anymore. He was asked about that by our Jackie Heinrich on the Sunday briefing yesterday. Listen to what he said.
Of course, we weren't attacking Qatar any more than you were attacking Pakistan when you took out bin Laden. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that with President Trump. Sometimes diplomacy should precede public expressions.
So he says that attacking Hamas in Qatar was very much the same as going after bin Laden in Pakistan. Do you agree?
I do. And Israel reserves the right, as any sovereign state, to go after those who murder its citizens, murder our fellow citizens. And as the United States went after bin Laden in Pakistan, Israel has the right to go after the heads of Hamas who are in Qatar. On the eve of Israel's invasion of Gaza, that is on October 25th, 2023, Netanyahu made a statement, and he said unequivocally, we're going to go after the heads of Hamas, irrespective of where they are. They could be in Gaza, they could be in the West Bank, they could be anywhere. We're going to get them. And it's important that our enemies internalize that there is no impunity for those who shed Israeli blood.
Mr. Ambassador, thanks for taking time with us today. Good to hear your perspective as always. Let's go ahead now and bring in our